Hello, YouTube. I want to tell you about my experience as a guest with Red Roof Inn Plus off the Katy Freeway near Park Row and I-10. When me and my family stayed there last year, they had roaches. The security pass, the keypad entry, where you swipe your card at the stairwell on the north side of the building was broken. The rooms themselves had stained mattresses, and they had covered the stains with a plastic sheet. So you couldn't tell that the mattresses were severely damaged underneath that plastic sheet until you remove the sheets yourself. The tipping point for me, though, was that other guests that would stay there were aggressive. You could hear a lot of yelling. One of our neighbors one night sounded like he was a patient from a mental ward. He was screaming and cussing at somebody on the phone. The tipping point, what really iced the cake, though, was one night when we had a woman and a man staying down the hall from us, and they had been there for a few nights. And I heard this woman screaming inside the room and telling the guy to let her go. He was holding her against her will. And we called the front desk about it, and they ended up calling the Houston Police Department. And pretty soon there were like 40 officers lining the walls of the hallway outside of this room. It was just a few doors down from us. I'm like, oh my God. You know, it looked like the SWAT team was about to bust in there. I mean, for real. And they ended up forcing that guest's door open, and I put it on an internet review. Like, well, you know, this happened. It really sucks. But this happened. I put it on here. We had mold on the ceiling in the bathroom, and the fixtures were rusted out, and they had no way of ventilating the mold from those bathrooms. And they were charging a great deal of money to the guests that were staying there for moldy, stained mattresses, rooms that had roaches in them. And there was a lot of illegal stuff that was going on there. I got approached with my family by two women who were housing insecure. They were sex workers. I understand that people have to eat and they need a place to live. And HPD came out there, and I didn't call on them, but I did put it on the review that they were out there. They're hanging out in the parking lot, hanging out in the stairwells, looking for clients. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not interested. And when I left the detailed review, this lady who works the front desk, she was probably about 300 pounds. She had blonde hair, and her name actually was Karen, ironically. I made a reservation to stay there for one more month, just so we wouldn't have to go to the inconvenience of trying to find other accommodations around the Houston area. And she let me know when I got to the front desk that the property owner, because of my honest reviews, had banned me from ever being able to stay there again with my family. We were permanently banned from the property for putting on there that they forced the door of these two guests that were staying there in this possible hostage situation, where the man would not open the door for police to do a welfare check on the woman. And I never told them to call the police on those two people. I never called them myself. So that outcome was entirely on property management. The lady claimed she was there in the hallway that night. I'm like, dude, there's a huge dent in the door where they hit it with like a battering ram. I mean, like, I wasn't going to hang out and wait for bullets to start flying. They flooded that property with police. That whole parking lot was filled with police cars because of that incident. And we got banned from staying there for trying to help that woman. They ended up leaving, the woman and the man. They came back to get their stuff and then they left. And I don't know if they left together or not, but we shouldn't have been blamed by hotel management for that problem. And I left a review on Booking.com over that. I was dealing with bad credit at the time, and that's the reason why I was staying there, because I needed something that I could stay in monthly that was going to have good access to stores and be local to my job. And they will not take kindly to any guest that leaves a negative review for their business about any incident that's happened at that property. You know, if you leave them negative reviews on Booking.com, in addition to banning you from the property, this property will file a complaint to Booking, and Booking will shadow ban your payment method so that you can't make future reservations at any of their stays. That property, and then another Red Roof Inn in Branson, Missouri, that had its own problems, both filed separate complaints to Booking.com so that I'd be banned from the platform. I wanted to tell you about that experience as a guest, in case you were considering staying at the Red Roof Inn Plus off the Katy Freeway at Park Row.